Listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's call. At that time, you can press star 1 to ask a question from the phone lines. I'd now like to turn the call over to Ryan Segrist. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Advanced Practitioner Series. Today, we're going to be covering a number of things. We're going to be talking about what we've done in the last year and how that's informed what we're planning for the future, and we'd like to get you involved in the conversation as well. However, we have a few announcements that we need to make first. The first one is that on August 5th and 7th, we'll be holding a massive open online course that is going to be dedicated to widely attended gatherings. This is a slightly different version of the MOOC than the outside activities one for those of you who participated, because there's going to be less time in between the two sessions. The second thing is that the fundamental series we will be covering basic gifts, and for the advanced practitioner we will be doing WAGs versus 1353. Also, at the end of August, we will be doing a preview of the summit that is coming up in September, so be on the lookout for that. Also, for those of you who are in charge of doing registration at your agencies, that is supposed to be done very soon, so make sure you get that done. And for those of you who will be joining us for the virtual summit, registration information for that will be going out sometime soon. And with that, I am very pleased to be joined by my fellow lead instructors, Patrick Shepard and Cheryl Kane-Piasecki.
It's great to be here.
Very good to be here.
I think we'd like to start by thanking everyone for a really great year. We've had a very successful fiscal year 14 when it comes to education and training here at OGE. The Institute for Ethics in Government has expanded its offerings massively, and that is not in any small part due to your contributions. So we're very grateful that you continue to attend, that you provide us your feedback and suggestions. We've made great strides in improving the quality of our content and broadcasts, and much of that is because of your generous feedback and time. So we want to make sure to thank everyone for that. And we also want to make sure to invite you to help us set the course for fiscal year 2015. We do this because hopefully it helps you guys to be better ethics officials in your agencies and departments, and we want to offer you the training that is most beneficial and most effective for yourselves and for your programs. So at the end of this presentation, you'll be provided with an instrument that will allow you to give us feedback about how we allocate the resources. If you're looking for instructors at OGE, people who do this full-time, you're looking at them. It's the three of us. And we are the three instructors who deliver the majority of the content, and we have finite resources, and we need your help to help us balance those resources. So what we'd like to do today is share with you a little bit about where we've been, look at some of the numbers and some of the programs that we completed during fiscal year 2014 and how that compares to fiscal year 2013, and share with you some of the ways that we're using that data to think about fiscal year 2015, and then also invite your feedback on some of the plans that we have so that we can make adjustments as necessary. So should we look at the deck?
Yeah. So we've had a very busy year. That's an awful lot of things that we've got on there, isn't that?
Yeah, I think so, and I think some of these programs maybe aren't so familiar to folks. Some of these were smaller programs, but they were very big efforts that we employed to develop some very specific needs. Would you like to share with folks a little bit about some of those early programs that we engaged in, Cheryl, like the intensive curriculum in ethics? I think that's a big achievement that we had this year that maybe people aren't so familiar with if they weren't involved in the program.
Sure. It was an intensive effort on our part to try to reach what we know is a very real need in the community for training up new ethics officials in the panoply of sort of areas of concentration that an ethics official needs to have, a fundamental understanding, and that's sort of, generally speaking, conflict of interest, impartiality, financial disclosure, seeking and post-employment, and gifts. And so for 9 weeks in the first quarter of this past year, we trained up approximately 21 ethics officials, new ethics officials, in those areas of ethics law and reg, with live training on OGE's premises. This was a certificate program, which meant that not only did folks have to come and participate in the live training, but then they also had to take an assessment in each of those areas and basically have a qualifying score or to pass those assessments such that we could give them a certificate indicating that they had successfully completed the course. It was a mammoth undertaking, frankly, and
Yes.
I think it was we bit off a little bit more than I think we realized we were going to have to chew. I think people who went through the program, by large and in the main, wouldn't you agree? I mean, had very good responses
we
to
received
it.
very good responses. And I think the problem we were trying to solve with this program, and it's not a problem that's going away anytime soon, is that particularly at small agencies, we frequently have attorneys or other administrative officials appointed as the head of the ethics program with little or no ethics experience. So that while these people might be very competent attorneys and managers, they may have little to no familiarity with the ethics laws and regulations. And the problem with that is that they're the people who are ultimately going to make the ethics decisions for their organizations. So when we looked at the world and we looked at our applicants, we said, these people are making the final calls at their agencies, and the massive resources required to get them up to speed are worthwhile, because what we're really doing is building programs and agencies. But I agree with you, it was a very, very big undertaking. It was a great deal of work, and actually the people in their need for the knowledge have made it a challenging course to teach.
And that's why I think moving into thinking forward with respect to this program or some program that would be similar to it, this is where we're really going to be looking to you all to give us some feedback as to the kinds of assessment of your own needs that you have in your own agencies, because we might configure it differently if we offer a program of this nature. We probably won't do 9 consecutive weeks, and we might do it differently. But we really want to make sure that we're targeting the right people. We really want, if we're going to invest that kind of intensive resource on our part, we want to make sure they're folks who really are going to be sort of running ethics programs and have a real need for that curriculum.
And to reiterate, again, the reason why we do this kind of targeting, a lot of times at smaller agencies, there may not be a backup who can train someone, on the substantive ethics laws and regulations. And if there's no backup, and you've got, a one-person ethics shop or even a one-person general counsel shop, where's that person going to go to get the kind of intensive training that they need? And because that will have such a larger programmatic impact on those ethics programs, that's why we target them that way.
Yes, and I can hear the folks listening in saying, well, I work at a big agency, and that doesn't help me very much.
Well,
so what do we do in that area?
Exactly. I was just about to say, by contrast, really, what we've been trying to, the other program that we offered this past year, that ran parallel with the intensive curriculum, was the Instructor Development Program. And we had various ethics officials from, I think, 10 different agencies.
10 different agencies and departments.
Who came and became certified instructors in one or more of the courses that we would offer under the intensive curriculum. And I want to reiterate the premise of that is, as Patrick said a minute ago, there are only 3 of us here and who do regular instruction. And we simply don't have the bodies to be able to, for larger departments and agencies that have many, many ethics staff who maybe even are only part-time ethics staff, we just don't have the wherewithal to be able to train up all those people. So our thought is, if the departments can commit to having someone come to us, we can get your people certified in our courses, so that then you have a person on staff who can do it do your internal ethics training for your ethics officials, on an as-needed basis.
And I think that's the really important part is, I had a large department or agency. We don't know when you're getting new ethics officials, and you need them to be trained up today, tomorrow, not 5 months from now when we can offer the course as we've done in the past. So we really want to empower the large agencies and departments to be able to do some of their basic professional development for folks who are new to the ethics program. And I think we're going to continue to do this in some form. Mm-hmm. And what we'd really like from you is your suggestions and feedback about how best we can do that. This is definitely an area where we can work together to increase the access to training that we've created. But with your help and with the help of senior folks at large departments and agencies, we can provide students with low student-to-teacher ratios, so that
that's right.
Low student-to-teacher ratios, and we strongly feel that if you're a new person, you need to have someone in the classroom who can provide you feedback. We're believers in in-person training,
yes,
but training the 5,500 ethics officials throughout government, 7 people at a time, is something that's would take us a very, very long time. So we're going to need your help with that. So if you have thoughts about how we could best do that, please let us know, because this is a program that I think we enjoyed doing. We made some progress in certain agencies and departments, but I think there's more we could do in this area, and we really need your help. We're reliant upon and dependent upon you guys in the field to help us get this right.
Exactly.
What else did we do this year?
We also did a few different workshop series. One of them was the financial disclosure workshops, which that is an obviously needed thing. I know that this is not an actual term you hear very often, but oftentimes, starting in February, we will have seasonal financial disclosure employees. And what we tried to do was to offer a number of these virtual workshops through the MACs that would allow agencies to get some people who are basically more of the seasonal type, who only do financial disclosure as part of their ethics function, during those 2 times of year, during 450 season and 278 season. And we did get a fair number of those done.
Yeah, I think we offered quite a few of these spread out between.
There were 11, I think, between
public and confidential.
Between public and confidential.
And we were expanding those as needed. As those filled up, we offered a number of bonus sessions. So that's something we're going to continue to do. We know that there are seasonal. There's a seasonal need to train up new reviewers.
Well, and one thing I do want to encourage you all with respect to that, I mean, now that we're doing these on Google Hangouts and we have actually a video recording of these, or can have a video recording of these sessions, or even just an audio recording of these sessions, to be able to use that as an on-demand tool for you guys as well. So I want to encourage you all, if as you have new people coming on board, if it's outside the scope of what we consider financial disclosure season, so that maybe we're not offering anything live, to really make sure that you're looking at the repository of recordings of these sessions, and you could have your employees using those as kind of on-demand tools to get them at least somewhat up to speed in the absence of a live training that we're offering.
Yeah, we're up above a dozen video courses on the Google Plus page now, and then if you go on the Max Distance Learning page, all of the courses in there, and I think there are more than 20, have either a recording or a video. So if you have new folks and it's like we're not going to be offering financial disclosure training for a few months, you can have them listen to the one we delivered last year and get up to speed. So yeah, that's a good thing. And as we offer more of these courses, that library will continue to grow.
And one thing that we have already committed to doing over the course of the next year is to figure out a more intuitive or better way of presenting that material. A lot of times, particularly if you have someone who's brand new, maybe one financial disclosure course covers part of what they need to know, but not all of it. And so we're thinking about ways to better organize the different repositories that we do have in ways that are sort of like
bundling almost.
Yes,
sort of.
Bundling. Yeah. So that if you do have someone who needs to know everything there is to know about financial disclosure, they can take the bundle of courses that are all financial disclosure, and it's easy for them to find and to access, and they don't have to dig around through lists and lists of courses and videos.
Yeah. And that's something, if you're training folks in your own program, you can use, and then supplement that with some on-the-job training or some feedback to provide people that one-to-one experience. Speaking of skills, this.
Let me break in just real quick. We have a question from the Hangout, and I'd like to take a moment to answer that. The question is there going to be an OGE conference this year? And we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end, but I want to make sure that we answer the questions as they come in. So the answer to that is we are going to be doing an ethics summit, and if you go on OGE's website and you go to the education tab and click on conferences and summits,
yes,
the information for this year's summit is underneath the summit tab.
And that's going to be a little bit different than in previous years. We're going to be doing a preview next month about it, so if you're curious about the details, you can tune in next month for all of those. But we will be primarily in DC for the live portions of that event. We'll also be streaming a large portion of that event and offering a lot of virtual content. And that's going to span the month of September. So in the past, our conferences have been 3 days of instruction, give or take. This year we're going to have 7 days of live in-person training for various groups of ethics officials in the DC area. We're also going to have almost 4 full days of virtual content available to anyone with an internet connection.
We will be streaming 27. We will be streaming or broadcasting 27 virtual sessions for that.
Yeah, so look for the preview next month for all the details and how to register or sign up, and make sure you follow that. We also heard from you last year a lot about your desire for in-person ethics education. A lot of you have said in your course evaluations that one thing that you miss when we do virtual training is the ability to interact with colleagues, talk about shared problems and shared solutions, and also the ability to receive immediate feedback from instructors. And we recognize that's extremely valuable. That's, I think, one of my favorite parts of teaching here at OGE. And if that's all we did all the time, I think that would kind of be okay with me. But I'm not sure that the greater program would benefit from us teaching people 7 or 8 folks at a time. But we do think this is really important. And in the spring, we did offer a workshop series where we covered a number of topics that we think are really important and are difficult to teach without having that personal interaction. Mm-hmm. So we were discussing widely attended gatherings, outside activity analysis and counseling exercises, and program risk assessment and leadership. And those were all really good workshops. And I think we're going to continue to do a series of workshops where we have these emerging issues or areas that are it's necessary to have a lot of back and forth with instructors and between students. So we're not giving up on in-person training. We still think that's very valuable. And we do need your help to figure out what the right balance is, because we also know there are lots of you who don't live in DC and for whom it's very difficult to get to the Office of Government Ethics offices. And we want to make sure that your needs are being met also.
And I think that's one of the areas where the MOOCs that we're offering, I think, can sort of maybe bridge that gap a little bit. And we're brainstorming among ourselves about how maybe we could introduce a little bit more interactivity with the distance learning folks through our MOOC, where maybe whether it's on air we do the discussion piece, or whether or not we can create small learning groups among you and encourage you to be doing that kind of interactivity among yourselves. We're brainstorming, and we would love any feedback that you have about how we might be able to bring some degree of interactivity to our MOOCs, obviously without compromising the efficiencies that we get by being able to reach a very large number of people through a distance learning event.
Yeah, we would really like to do that. We recognize that that's something that you guys need, that the ability to interact and receive immediate feedback is extremely important, and we want to be able to do that, and we want to be able to do that as efficiently as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing with those MOOCs is they're very like a classroom experience. In-person training is a very, there's not much there's only so many different ways you can do it, and with the MOOCs there are a lot of different ways we can do it. Cheryl mentioned a couple. Really please give us some feedback and give us your ideas. Give us some ideas that you have for what would work best for you or for your agency. In terms of different ways that we can do this, because it doesn't have to be just the do a basic introduction one day, do an exercise, and then do a debrief afterwards, which is how we're doing it now. But there are any number of ways that we can do it.
Yeah. So we'll continue to think about that, and we'll take into consideration your suggestions and ideas. The last thing we want to talk about is the standard distance learning events. We host these on the 2nd and 3rd Thursdays of every month. We hope that makes it easy for you to schedule and plan your month and weeks around. And these have been very good. We've been really impressed with the number of folks who are interested in joining us for these things. And we're going to build on this success. And there are some things that we've learned in the last year that we hope to put to work in the future. And we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. Which brings us to the part of the presentation where we tell you about how great we think we are, and then get to the point where we tell you what we're going to do in the future, and invite your suggestions. So just some quick numbers that might be of interest to you and might be surprising to you. The number of actual courses offered, specific days of training. We increased the number of courses by 10% in fiscal year 14 over fiscal year 13. And that's kind of impressive. Fiscal year 13 was the high watermark for OGE. So we're offering a lot of courses. They're a different mix. If you get the feeling some things have gone away, it may be that there are just lots of other things as well. But if you think the balance is off, please let us know. So in fiscal year 13, we offered 41 courses. In the previous fiscal year, we've offered 47. So that's that's not an enormous increase, but it is a significant increase. And if you think about the number of weeks in the year, it's almost a course a week, which is a pretty good clip. In terms of folks who have registered for our courses, we're projecting that we're going to have a little more than a 25% increase in registrations in fiscal year 14 over fiscal year 13, which is a particularly large increase when you realize that fiscal year 13 we increased the number of registrants by 200% over fiscal year 2012.
Say that again, Patrick?
So between fiscal year 2012 and fiscal year 13, we increased the number of ethics officials registering for OGE training by more than 200%. So that represented the high water mark by a very large margin. It's 3 times as many people registered in 13 as 12. And fiscal year 12 was a pretty good year for us by historical standards. And we've been able to build upon the success of fiscal year 2013 even and increase that another 25%. So the access that you guys have to the training has grown greatly, and we hope that's indicative that you think the things we're doing are worthwhile. But if not, let us know, because we do this because we hope it makes your jobs easier.
Well, one of the exciting things too is we realize we're reaching people that for the first time, that there's an enormous number. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't know empirically whether it's an enormous number, but we have the impression, particularly through the evaluations, that there is a goodly number. That's a safe thing to say.
Yes, I think that's safe.
A goodly number of you out there who were reaching for the first time. So that's hugely encouraging for us, and so that's certainly something that we are going to keep in mind as we plan for 2015 to make sure that we're ever increasing our reach to people who otherwise have not had the ability to access our training.
And an example of that is this last distance learning event that we did with some guests from outside of OGE. In the evaluation, someone who works at a substation somewhere in the frozen wastelands in Alaska sent us a comment and said he was very grateful that we did these distance learning broadcasts because that's the only way that he will ever get ethics training. And we just that was very delightful to us. We love that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also when you guys keep showing up to these things, it makes us a lot easier to get the resources that we need to put these events on.
Yes.
So that's also an important thing that we're grateful for, and hopefully you guys find that to be useful too.
Mm-hmm.
So should we talk about what we're going to do next?
Yeah, let's talk about the sort of scheme that we have for fiscal year 2015. And none of this is set in stone. This is kind of our thinking based on the feedback we've received over the past year. Again, we're really going to encourage you and other folks who have attended our training in the last year to complete the survey that we'll distribute.
Yes.
We read all of those, every single one, and we make adjustments because of those. There are a lot of things we've adjusted over the last year because of your comments and feedback. There are things that we're able to do because of your comments and feedback that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So please take that seriously. Please give us your honest assessment of what you'd like.
We include your comments, good and bad, in our monthly reports to our management about how our work is going. So believe me, your comments are very valued, and we not only read them and take them seriously among ourselves, but we share them with our management to get the resources we need and to basically be able to demonstrate the value of what we're providing to the community.
Yeah. All right, so this is kind of what we're thinking for fiscal year 2015. The first thing is if you've been to any of the DAO meetings, we've been asking you guys a lot that if you have space available, like training spaces,
yes, space.
If you were to offer that to us, we'd be massively grateful. And many of you have. We've been extremely encouraged by the number of agencies and departments that have offered up training space, everything from small conference rooms to big auditoriums. And we're very grateful because that's going to allow us to provide more live in-person training. At OGE, we sort of lost our dedicated training space, so it's a bit of a scheduling trick to get things scheduled here. And it's not a very big space here, frankly. The space we have accommodates 20 people comfortably. Some of your agencies have much larger spaces. We want to make sure that we show our gratitude and appreciation for your offers. So one of the things that we'd really like to do early in fiscal year 15 is take you up on those offers and come and work with you to offer live in-person training for folks in your agencies and folks throughout our community. We think it's a really strong thing to do, and it really indicates your commitment to our community when you guys say we'd be willing to co-host something with you, and we want to make sure to take advantage of that.
Yes, and as a reward, I mean, you will get to help select what the content will be. You will certainly get ample slots for your own folks at these things. We'll make sure that we're taking care of your folks if you're being gracious enough to offer us space. And as Patrick said, some folks have already offered us space that we have not necessarily been able to take them up on, and that is going to be a priority for us in fiscal year 15. Is to take those of you who have already offered up on your offers and get that coordinated, and then also just really encourage anybody else who has space and has some training needs to let us know, and we will coordinate with you as well.
Yeah, and we've already been able to do some really cool things with partner agencies who have offered up space. Our very first symposium was at USDA. The ethics staff over there, Stuart Bender and his team, were great to work with, and we put on a really fun event. The Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation has repeatedly offered us space. Maybe selfishly, we take advantage of that frequently because it's very convenient to our offices here at OGE.
Very close by.
And also the Summit is going to be a big community event.
Yes.
HHS is offering us, is providing space. FHFA is providing space. TSA, PBGC. Did I miss anyone? I feel bad if I missed anyone.
No, I think that's the
it,
universe. Yes.
Yeah. So we do use these things, and we are extremely grateful. And you do make possible events that benefit both the ethics officials in your agencies and those folks throughout our community. Mm-hmm. Do you have a question, Ryan?
We do, and this is related to the distance learning events. So we can go ahead and just talk about that next. So the question is there a way to have these online sessions repeated at a later time in the day to better provide ethics officials training for those in other time zones? And the gentleman asking this question is pointing out that in Hawaii, where he works, a noon start for us is 6 a.m. for him.
Oh, dear.
Which I don't know if I would be able to listen to an advanced practitioner at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the way I would really like to start my day.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoy doing this. That's an excellent suggestion, and something we've actually received before. On the fundamentals, we host those at 2 for that very reason. And the balancing act we try and strike with the Advanced Practitioner Series, we realize a lot of the people who attend these are very busy and get scheduled up throughout the day, particularly folks who are in DC. And they've told us the lunch hour is kind of an easy time to keep free and keep an ear tuned in when you eat lunch.
But whose lunch hour?
Yes, exactly.
6 o'clock, I'm not even sure it's breakfast time.
But 6 a.m. isn't even breakfast time. But yeah, that's something we could explore. Maybe sliding back to 1 would be convenient to everyone.
And one other thing to remember is that these are all recorded, so you can watch them later on in the morning if you want to, and we're perfectly happy if you email us any questions that you have to answer those questions once we receive them. I know that's not quite as good as listening in live, but that is something that you could definitely do and not have to watch at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, and if you do find that you've listened to a session a few hours after it took place, and you want to send us an email or give us a call because there's something you didn't understand or a question, we're pretty accessible that way. That's something that happens after most of these, and it's something we're happy to do. If you're confused and it takes us a few minutes to clarify a point that maybe wasn't clear, that's a good use of our time and something that you shouldn't be shy about doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So also, since we're on the topic of the Advanced Practitioner and Ethics Fundamentals series, you can see on the slide that we're planning on continuing on doing that.
Yes.
Twice a month.
Yes.
11 months out of the year.
Yes.
Maybe 12. We will see. But that is something that we have we have received lots and lots of feedback about how much you value these two series. The Fundamental series, we're thinking we're going to continue to focus on the nuts and bolts, the basics of how to do the job of an ethics practitioner. We're going to continue doing that. For the Advanced Practitioner Series, we're thinking about diversifying it just a little bit. What are some things that we're thinking about doing with this, Cheryl?
Well, I think that we're kind of open to just about anything. We got a lot of really good feedback for those of you who tuned in last week when Sean Croston and Jeremy Suttenberg were here. That topic, that particular session dealt with some non-ethics sort of like questions that ethics officials routinely get that deal with authorities that are outside the the realm of the ambit of the typical ethics rules. So we're looking at having regularly having speakers come in who can speak to other authorities that you all as ethics officials run up against, like the Hatch Act,
Procurement Integrity Act,
Procurement Integrity,
personnel rules,
personnel, 1353 travel stuff, or just travel stuff, GSA building authorities, the FAR. And have that at least be part of the repertoire, as it were, of the advanced practitioners. What were some other things?
Some other things we were thinking about. We had a focus group here to discuss OGE's strategic plan with a number of senior ethics officials. And one of the things that they really emphasized a need for and something they wanted was help addressing leadership and leading their programs, and kind of on the management side for senior program leaders. So I think we'd also like to offer a number of sessions in the next fiscal year dealing with those areas, maybe talking to people who are experienced in rebuilding programs or creating programs from scratch or getting really good leadership support. So to that end, if you think you could speak to that or you have experience you'd like to share with colleagues, please let us know. Another thing we're exploring is maybe having some speakers from outside of government. The government isn't the only game in town when it comes to ethics and compliance anymore. Private industry does this. Academia is looking into these areas. So something we might also be able to do is bring some perspectives from outside that can share some experiences in similar programs, in similar organizations outside of the government with us, so that we can improve our programs based on their lessons learned.
And not only share perspectives on that, but also to kind of, a lot of times we can get very nearsighted and only see the bounds of our program, and having someone from the outside come in and talk about the executive branch ethics program as a whole and how it looks to them might be very valuable to us, to all of us as a community. So that's something else that we're also thinking about with that.
Or even looking at other stakeholders. I mean, I know that this is something that you'll see coming out of the summit. We have some sessions that are dedicated to other stakeholders in with government ethics, which are like good governance groups and things like that. People who come at it from perhaps a different perspective than we do, but understanding their perspective is really valuable for those of us who are charged with running our programs, to know how they're perceived and what the perspectives are of the people who are the consumers of
the ethics program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is an initiative that we could build on. The summit's going to start this, and it's something we can continue with the Advanced Practitioner Series if that's something that you guys are interested in. So I think we have a question that specifically addresses this, and we're very interested in your feedback.
Yes, please. So when you get the survey, please, this would be one area in particular where it would be really helpful to know what would be of most use for you through this vehicle.
And then we have a number of other things here on the chart. You'll note in the spring of next year there's an arrow. We're considering, and this always causes me a lot of anxiety, leaving the Beltway.
The bubble!
We might actually cross the Potomac River and go somewhere.
Oh, jeez, wow. Out to the hinterlands. Ooh, what's life like out there?
There's a possibility, budgets permitting, that we'll be conducting a regional symposium, and we've not decided where that might be or what that would cover. So if you have thoughts about, you have a place around the country where you have staff that really need training, you have ideas about what topics would be good, please share that with us, because it's something that's in our planning documents, and we need your feedback to decide exactly what that should look like. Also, if you have space somewhere else, we're always happy to borrow your space.
Yes.
So you have space in Atlanta, warm places would be preferred by me. Ryan prefers the cold, I think. But if you have space that would be available and there's a large federal presence, that could be very helpful, and we could work together to plan a regional symposium.
Yes.
So we've got a couple of questions real quick. Another one from the gentleman in Hawaii. He's asking if it would be possible for us to develop a series of short videos or presentations that can be shared at organizational meetings, either at the fundamental or advanced practitioner level.
Well, I think that's a really good suggestion. And I'd be really interested in finding out how short you mean by short.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's something we've been playing with here a lot.
Exactly.
If you've been tuning in for a while, I think when we started doing these, we were usually running into the 2-hour mark. Mm-hmm. That's exhausting to deliver, and I think it's exhausting for folks to listen into. We've been trying to keep them shorter now. But if you could let us know about what you think is short, that's something we'd be happy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got another question. Are we considering, is OGE considering doing the annual statistics reports again? I think the reference is to the annual questionnaire. it would be useful for this person to be able to compare how he's doing compared to other agencies, so you could focus on areas where they're lagging.
Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to the annual questionnaire, I mean, OGE will be, it's actually a statutory requirement that we have to collect an annual questionnaire every year from agencies. And my understanding is that we are going to make a concerted effort to do a much better job of sharing those statistics and those metrics with the community. So for that very reason, so that you can, sort of like try to do apples to apples kind of comparison. Look to other agencies that maybe are of a similar size, and then you can compare their stats against your stats, so that you can see, okay, how many staff do we have that are dedicated to the ethics program? What are our stats with respect to the kind of training we're doing, and et cetera, because it covers every aspect of the ethics program. And so
I believe there's going to be a presentation at the summit touching on this particular topic, and I also believe that's going to be one of the presentations we plan to stream live. So if you're interested in some of the outcome of the agency ethics questionnaire, look to the summit schedule. It's very likely that it will be available as a virtual session. If it's not, that might be something that we could add to the agenda for the Advanced Practitioner Series early in the next fiscal year.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we just have one or two more things on our look ahead here.
One of them is the financial disclosure workshops. Again, we recognize very much that these are a necessary and useful tool for you, while we're getting ready for and going through financial disclosure season. And so we are going to continue doing these. The number and frequency may change a little bit, but I think that we've kind of identified that somewhere between 8 and 20 is the right number.
Unless you guys tell us massively otherwise. That's I think about our thinking, is that's a perennial need. We try and offer them until they don't fill up so quickly. But let us know about that. And what do we have? Two more things. We talked a little bit about the MOOCs. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to do those. We piloted the first one last month, and we're going to try and build on that success and get better and get some more interactivity, like Cheryl suggested. Mm-hmm. And then finally, is it September 2015? We're already talking about that again.
Yeah.
So we've not even gotten through the summit for September 2014, but we do plan to do a symposium either virtually or in the DC area in September of 2015. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've not thought at all about that yet.
Shame on you, Patrick. You're supposed to be on the 5-year plan, Patrick. Come on.
I think that we're probably going to do something.
And I guess it's something that we can consider, depending upon what our experience is streaming and whatever with this summit. It might be something where, even though the symposium will take place in the DC area, if there's enough interest in the subject matter of whatever is decided is going to be the subject of it, that we might be able to provide that, stream parts of that, or make it available, more of it available virtually.
Yeah.
So just because we would be holding it in DC, for those of you who are outside the DC area, don't lose heart. We will probably try to find some way to get at least some, if not all of it, to you.
Yeah, and I think with these big plenary events, that's going to be our plan moving forward to the extent that it's possible. Mm-hmm. We're going to try and make these things available. We've kind of gotten over the hump with the live broadcasting, and there's no reason to exclude you if we can easily provide virtual access.
Exactly.
Well, and not only that, they will also be recorded for your future consumption as well, for all of our viewers in Hawaii in particular.
Yes.
So should we open it up for questions?
Yeah, for the phone line folks who have been sitting there holding their water.
Yeah, and folks who are on the Hangout, if you have questions, please remember you can put those in the text box in the bottom right-hand side of your screen.
And please do so. We're trying very hard to make sure that we get those answered as soon as they come in. We received some comments before that it seemed like we weren't, so we're very much trying to make sure that you are getting as much interaction as you need.
Latoya, could we open the lineup for questions, please?
If you would like to ask a question from the phone lines, please press star 1. You will be prompted to unmute your phone and record your name. Your name is required to introduce your question. Again, it is star 1. One moment, please, for the first question.
it seems we don't have any questions yet on the phone, and if you think of a question before we're done, please press *0. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. Do we have any questions on the Hangout, Ryan?
We do not.
Don't have any questions on the Hangout. I guess in closing, what we'd like to do is really thank you guys for a great year, and thank you in advance for your feedback and suggestions on the survey. Please complete that. If you have colleagues, you can share the link with them. Stuff the ballot box as long as they're real people who practice ethics. I think we're okay with that. We want to know what you guys need, and we will do our best to be as responsive as possible.
We can't close yet, though, Patrick.
Why is that?
We've got a Throwback Thursday question we got to do.
We do have a Throwback Thursday question, don't we?
Yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Throwback Thursday question, we will ask you a question that is perhaps a little esoteric, not necessarily, but it could be about ethics, law, and policy.
History.
And history.
And
yeah.
history.
And what we'll do is we'll ask a question one month, and then the next month at the Advanced Practitioner we will answer it and then ask you another one. And we ask that if you do know the answer, or you think you know the answer, to put the answer in the comments box on the Max page that you registered on.
So what was our question last month?
So our question last month was, what war immediately led to the development of 18 U.S.C. Section 205?
And that was the predecessor, right? That was before the...
right.
Yes, the predecessor to 205.
The predecessor to
yes.
205.
In
483,
the 60s.
I think. Yeah.
483, yeah.
I think.
That's right, because there was a war, and it played a very specific role in the creation of that. There was a bit of a scandal, as these things tend to happen. If you have a scandal, and then you get a law, and then you get to keep the law forever.
So what war was it, Patrick?
I believe it was the Mexican-American War, and there was something to do with the Mexican-American War, and I believe there was something to do with claims against the U.S. for war damages that were fraudulent or something like that.
Was that the Gardner Affair, wasn't it?
Was it the Gardner Affair?
It was.
Yes. Do you know that story, Cheryl?
No, I don't.
No, it's a good story. I think it was a congressman who was buying up claims and filing them on behalf of people who had been damaged during the war and receiving damages from the government. And one of those claims happened to be fraudulent. The sad part of this story is that the fraudulent claim that he was prosecuting against the U.S., he actually didn't know. It turned out that he had no idea that this was a fraudulent claim. He'd never seen the damages. He'd just been asked to benefit or to advocate on these people's behalf, and he's being compensated for that. And the Congress decided that wasn't such a great thing, and we got the predecessor to Section 205. I think we had another answer that maybe the Civil War led to part of this, and temporally that makes sense, and there were some factors there as well. But the specific instance was in the aftermath of the Mexican-American War.
And we didn't see anybody who got it right, so you will not be able to bask in the adulation from your colleagues this month. So we're going to ask another question, and we're going to answer it next month. Cheryl, you had a good one.
Yeah, well, our question is, to what does the $1-a-year man, the concept of $1-a-year men, I guess I should say, to what does that refer? To what conflict of interest statute does that refer? And what is the particular circumstance that gives rise to the term $1-a-year men? And extra points if you know what department, principally, of the United States government was sort of implicated in this $1-a-year men thing.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yes, that is a good one.
So we've got one final question, and then we'll wrap up here. Someone wants to know, while we wait, are there any developments regarding e-filing?
We were assured that development is proceeding apace, and that progress is being made. And if you're interested in e-filing, there will be many opportunities at the summit, both virtually and in person, to learn more about our integrity system. There's been a lot of progress, and we're very excited about rolling that out at the summit. And again, we're calling the system Integrity, and it's at integrity.gov. So look for that. I think that's going to be an item of great interest to people. And when you see the schedule for the summit, you'll say, wow, they're spending a lot of time talking about e-filing.
Yes.
That's why.
George Hancock is going to be a permanent fixture at the summit, and he will be happy to answer any and all questions that folks have about it.
And if you're unable to make it to the summit, trust me, we will continue throughout the whole rollout process of getting more and more people involved in answering people's questions and being there as a resource for people who want to know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe we can have George on as a guest at the virtual
Oh,
summit.
that's a great
good
idea.
idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so thanks for the question.
Okay, with that, thank you all very much for a great year. And do we have any closing thoughts from you guys?
No, thanks. It was
Okay.
It's been great. Look forward to seeing you at the summit.
Yep.
And please give us your feedback. Please, please, please. We do want to hear from you. We take you all very, very seriously, and we love everything that you have to say, good, bad, and otherwise. We take it all to heart. So please, please, please tell us what you think and give us your suggestions.
Good. See you next month.
Alrighty.
See you next month.
See ya.